My online boyfriend is very rich. Every time I get treated badly by my unscrupulous boss, he transfers money to me. But after another late overtime shift, I finally snapped. I was on the phone, yelling, "I'll never forgive Zach Barlow, that scumbag." However, my online boyfriend suddenly becomes quiet. He then asks, "Is your boss also named Zach Barlow?" His words made me pause. The biggest regret of my life was joining this company because of the boss' good looks. I thought I was going to get paid to admire a hot guy, but I was subjected to his indiscriminate criticism every day instead. Zach Barlow's head was propped up against his hand, his fingers resting on the proposal I spent all night working on. After flipping through a few pages, he glanced at me, his voice completely detached when he spoke. "Ms. Haley Atlas, this proposal of yours is rather conservative." I lowered my gaze, knowing he had more to say. "It lacks anything novel, with no feasible way to implement this. It's perfectly mediocre. How did you manage to be so consistent?" he added. I clenched my fists, wishing I could take off my heels and give Zach a proper thrashing. However, I merely took the documents he tossed over, smiled, and said, "I'll revise it immediately." Zach's cold gaze swept over me before he turned and tapped impatiently on the table. William Marr immediately caught on and handed over the documents to Zach with a servile expression. William then looked at me smugly before saying, "Mr. Barlow, I pulled 2 all-nighters on this, do have a look." William and I were from different planning teams and never got along. I couldn't help but get mad at his smugness. I only hoped that Zach's bloody mouth wouldn't spew any niceties. Thankfully, he didn't disappoint. Zach was consistent. "Mr. Marr," Zach began, "if hard work were a virtue, then this proposal you spent 2 nights on is a paragon of virtue. However, I run a business, results matter more than anything. Why don't you find another job?" William's smile froze as he awkwardly accepted the documents Zach tossed back at him. "I'll revise this at once." I pursed my lips and stifled a laugh. Just as I was about to give Zach a mental thumbs up, he turned around and coldly said, "If you can't submit a proper proposal by tomorrow's end, see yourselves to HR. This cocky prick, forget the thumbs up." I worked overtime until 10 p.m. before I finally finished revising the proposal. I just shut down my computer when my online boyfriend, Z, sent me a message. "What are you up to?" I typed out a series of responses. "I'm working myself to my grave for greedy capitalists. I'm furious." He tortured me verbally again, the prick. I bet even a kiss from him poisons his girlfriend. Oh, wait, the prick's a bachelor. Ha. What girlfriend? There are men and women, and there are creatures like him who need his own species. He stays away from people in general. As I ranted, my screen was full of speech bubbles. Suddenly, a transfer notification popped up. Z had given me $8,000. He then texted, "You worked hard, go treat yourself." All I could say was that money was the best form of self-care. Seeing the amount immediately cleared a lot of my resentment, but what followed was confusion and bewilderment. How could men be so different from each other? Z was someone I met via an online game, but he was now my online boyfriend. Unlike my heartless capitalist of a boss, Z was gentle and kind, polite and generous, plus, I got to see his 8-pack for free each day. Compared to Z, Zach was just some guy. I stepped out of the office with my bag as I typed a response, "You're the best, darling." I'm so lucky. Give me 30 minutes, we'll go on with that game. I followed up with a kiss emoji and another text, "I want to cuddle with you online right now, hee hee." As I waited for a reply, I saw a tall figure in my periphery and hurriedly put the phone away. I was unsure if it was because I felt guilty for badmouthing him, but I blurted, "Mr. Barlow, you're leaving work?" Zach glanced at me coldly and replied, "Mind your own business." I tamped my irritation down wordlessly for the sake of my 6-figure salary. My phone kept vibrating. Z had likely responded, but I dared not look at his messages. Zach was taller than me, and I was worried he'd see my messages cursing him, then I'll be doomed. Once inside the elevator, I tried to make myself seem smaller. I stared at the falling numbers, wishing I could arrive sooner. I caught a glimpse of Zach's reflection on the elevator doors. A strange smile had appeared on his perpetually icy face while he looked at his phone. What? Zach Barlow knew how to smile? Who on earth was that person on the phone? I was so stunned that I forgot to look away. Zach caught me staring, and his expression turned icy once more. "Do you find my look so surprising, Ms. Atlas?" he asked mildly. I did not respond. After getting home, I took a quick shower and lay down, launching my game. As soon as Z came online, I pulled him into a chat room. "There you are, darling. I've missed you, come hug me." "Oh, you're playing as Lily? Go put on the new skin I bought." If there was one downside to online dating, it was that Z was a bit of a novice when it came to games. Yet, it was all right. I could play as Rex, and that was enough. I was in charge of chaos and killing, while his job was to wait and celebrate for our victory. Back then, it was my decent gaming skills that won Z over. I heard a low chuckle through the receiver. "Are you feeling better?" I grinned and replied, much better, as long as I don't have to breathe the same air as that prick, I feel fantastic. There was a brief silence before I heard Z's voice, tinged with mirth. Would wearing a mask make you feel better at work tomorrow? Honey, don't be so cheesy, I retorted. Since I left work late, I only played a few rounds before it was time to sleep. We had switched from the in-game voice chat to a regular phone call. Darling, I've not seen your abs yet today. Z then sent me 3 pictures taken from different angles. I zoomed in on each one to admire it. I was likely silent for too long because Z asked, do you like them, honey? I kicked my feet in the air wildly before squealing, they look amazing. I was never going to get tired of them, even if I saw them every day. Do you want to see them in person? Z suddenly asked. This made me pause mid-swipe. Z and I had been together for almost a year, yet this was the first time he brought up meeting in person. To be frank, I was a bit hesitant. I was worried he wasn't what I imagined him to be, and that I wasn't what he envisioned either. Given how rushed things were at first, I never imagined us lasting this long. From our daily interactions, we seemed to get along well. He was very stable emotionally. No matter what I dumped on him, he took it in stride and never behaved condescendingly. When that thought crossed my mind, I had the urge to say yes. Sensing my hesitation, Z did not press the issue. It's okay, if you're not ready, we can wait a little longer, he said. We can take it slow, darling. I felt a wave of warmth wash over me, followed by a surge of courage. Bracing myself, I replied, let's meet up, sweetie. How about we catch a movie this Saturday? Today was Tuesday. I still had 3 days to be properly prepared. There was a pause, followed by a soft chuckle. We're just meeting up, babe. No need to brace yourself like it's certain death. I was speechless. This was Z's second flaw. He'd occasionally channel Zach's ruthlessness, always catching me off guard with his dark humor. What else do you want to do apart from the movie? What kind of food do you prefer? Asked Z. Perhaps sensing my nervousness, Z chatted with me about a lot of things, mostly involving the details for our meeting. In the end, we hadn't decided on a restaurant, but we narrowed down what we wanted to eat. For some reason, I suddenly felt less nervous. I even found myself looking forward to this. The next day, I went to work, humming a tune. I couldn't resist texting Z while I was out. We're meeting up in 2 days. I'm excited. I wish it were Saturday already. It's a great day, too. I don't need to see my boss' stupid face, and we get to cuddle. After exiting the subway, I still had to cross the road to get to the office. I just reached the crossing when I spotted Zach waiting for the red light in his red Ferrari convertible. I was just about to feign ignorance when he happened to look over. I had no choice. I forced out a smile, prepared to greet him. Before I could speak, he looked away and sped off the second the light turned green. This prick, did he think he was a hotshot just because he had a Ferrari? Well, it was quite impressive. Why couldn't I be rich, too? Could the world not handle one more? At the office, I went to the pantry to make myself coffee. Just then, my colleague, Jenny Wilkins, walked in looking like she'd just seen a ghost. Holy crap, I have breaking news. I just sent Mr. Barlow his coffee, and I saw him smiling at his phone, she exclaimed. He was actually smiling. Is he even human? I loved a good spectacle. He wouldn't be human if he couldn't smile, you mean? I held my coffee, thinking of the scene in the elevator last night, but I did see him smile at his phone yesterday, too, I added. Jenny's eyes widened as she covered her mouth. He must be in love, she whispered. When I left, I think I heard him say baby, goodness. I wonder who this person is, to have snagged him. I couldn't help but shake my head as I thought of the way Zach was impassively telling people off. I wondered who'd fall in love with a mouth like that. She must have been really unlucky. However, this was none of my business. There were so many unfortunate people in the world, and I couldn't possibly care about them all. The most important thing now was to give Zach the revised proposal while he was still in good spirits, otherwise, I was going to be in big trouble. Jenny was right, Zach was definitely dating. After reviewing the proposal, not only did he not criticize me, but he even offered me a warm compliment. Thanks for your hard work, Ms. Atlas. He was completely different from the man who sped off, leaving me inhaling exhaust fumes. When had I ever heard him speak so kindly? Was this the power of love? Even his withered heart could become whole. I was so shocked that I forgot to respond. Zach then gave me a sidelong glance and a smirk. Why aren't you leaving? Must I escort you out? Hearing that, I hurriedly left. When I returned to my desk, Z had already responded. It was a picture of his abs and a voice message. You'll see them in person next, baby. I listened to it twice more, but something felt off. Why did Z's voice sound similar to Zach's? I must have been so shocked earlier that my brain was fried. Thanks to Zach's good mood, everyone had a decent time for 3 days straight. Speculation was rife about who his companion was. To have transformed that ruthless capitalist into this was something worthy of worship. Everyone was busy gossiping while I was swept away by nerves and excitement about my upcoming date. Tomorrow was Saturday. I was happily twiddling my thumbs, waiting to get out of work, when a coworker approached me. "Haley, Mr. Barlow asked to see you in his office." As soon as I reached Zach's office, I heard the sound of him scolding someone, the thick doors unable to block out his cold voice. "I want to see the results of your judgment, not potential drafts in your head. Well, your report shows that your department has made zero progress over the past month." He paused, and then continued, "The data on page 3, did you pick that via lottery? The only thing you did right was the page numbering. It looks like your brain decided to work remotely and not show up like the rest of you." I was speechless. It seemed that the effect of his companion had lost its allure. The doors opened, and the people filed out, their expressions grim. I took several deep breaths, steeled myself with a sense of heroic resolve, and opened the door. Zach sat in his expensive chair, his dark suit accentuating his sharp features. He exuded an air of elegance. I couldn't help but sigh. He had such a nice face, but why did he have a mouth like that? Zach pushed over a stack of documents. "This project is urgent, work on it over the weekend," he said neutrally. I stared, wide-eyed. He didn't call me in to scold me, but to make me work like a dog. I desperately wanted to throw the folder at him. "Since it's urgent, the finance department will triple your salary," Zach added. Holy crap! Why didn't he tell me that sooner? Even though Zach had a barbed tongue and high demands, he really knew how to pay up where money was concerned. Who could refuse the triple pay? I took over the folder and smiled. "Of course, Mr. Barlow." However, this last-minute gig meant that my date had to be cancelled. Before I could think of how to tell Z, he called me first. "It will be chilly tomorrow, wear a sweater, we'll see each other in 14 hours. Hearing how caring he was made me feel guiltier. I slumped on the couch, my head hanging low. "I don't think I can make it tomorrow, darling. I have to work overtime, I'm sorry." He was silent for a while, making me wonder if he was upset. It was only natural for him to be upset. He'd been looking forward to it for days, only to be stood up at the last minute. I'd have been upset, too. I was about to apologize when another notification popped up. He'd sent me $10,000. I was slightly confused. "Why did you send me money?" He laughed and said affectionately, "Well, working overtime is tough. Take good care of yourself, darling." I felt a warmth bloom in me. "You're not mad?" Z seemed not to understand. "Why would I be? You're working hard. It's not like you're deliberately avoiding me. Is that wrong?" Goodness! What an amazing partner Z was. I was moved to tears. "You're the best, baby." Along with the growing sense of gratitude came resentment toward Zach. At this moment, I'd completely forgotten why I agreed to work overtime in the first place, a compromise on my ethics by choosing money. I just wanted to blame Zach for messing up our plans. That evil capitalist pig. I sat up on my couch, the anger in my voice palpable as I hissed, "I'll never forgive Zach Barlow, that scumbag." In the past, Z would have laughed and agreed with me, but today, he was oddly quiet. I thought he was startled by my sudden loudness. I quickly tried to smooth things over with a giggle. "I'll only get mad over my evil boss this way, never at you. You're both completely different. He's a scumbag, but you're the best thing ever. I wish I could see you, but for now, just be my princess in the tower. When I'm finished here, I'll come bring you home." Again, this was met with silence before Z asked, "Is your boss also named Zach Barlow?" Also? Who else had a boss named Zach Barlow? Did he and I share a boss, then? I was stunned by this revelation and stammered, "Is your boss also named Zach Barlow?" There was a moment of silence before he replied, "No." I was just about to breathe a sigh of relief when he added, "I have a friend named Zach Barlow." This plunged us both into silence. So, the capitalist pig I'd been badmouthing this whole time was Z's friend? Could things get any more awkward? Even someone as shameless as me was at a loss for words. However, Z broke the silence first. "To be fair, he's not really a friend. We've met a few times. We're not that close, baby. You can't take it out on me over this, okay?" He sent over a few more photos of his abs and threw in some chest shots, too. How considerate of him. My eyes lit up. How could I possibly take it out on him? I admired the photos and spoke soothingly. "Why would I? I know you're both not the same. You're so nice. You should stay away. Don't let him corrupt you. Zach is bad news." "All right," he replied. After chatting for a while longer, Z said he had something to take care of and hurriedly hung up. After gaming alone for a while, I fell asleep. The next day, I went to the office. Since I was alone, I couldn't be bothered to wear headphones. I turned on my speakers and played some music. I shook my head while writing that proposal, muttering to myself. When I looked up, Zach was standing at the door. I was unsure of how long he'd been there. I was startled. I wanted to turn off the speaker, only to knock it over in my haste. That speaker, blaring a song from my game, rolled right to his feet. I was mortified. Zach bent down to pick it up, pushing the power button. The room immediately fell silent. My greeting sounded rather stiff. What brings you here, Mr. Barlow? He walked to my desk and set down the speaker, his gaze ambiguous. How lively. Thanks, I replied. I was going to assume it was a compliment. Zach was a workaholic. He was ruthless to us, but also to himself. When we had to work overtime, he'd be working, too. That was why his presence was no surprise. However, Zach kept standing by my desk, which was really strange. I looked at him, confusion filling my gaze. Is there anything else? Only half the lights in the office were on, so it wasn't particularly bright. Since Zach wasn't facing the light, his expression was hard to discern. Moments later, he said, "It's break time, let's eat together." Working overtime on my day off and having a meal with my boss felt off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Forget it, he was buying, and I wasn't going to refuse. Since we still had work in the afternoon, we didn't go far and headed straight to an Esperian restaurant nearby. I had noticed this place when it first opened. The average price per person was horrendously expensive. It was somewhere I would not have set foot in myself, so this was a win. I happily sat down. Zach ordered off the menu, and it was all food I enjoyed. The heavens had finally treated me well. I was finally being given what this man owed me. As I thought of this, Zach handed me the menu. Is there anything you'd like to swap out or add? I was thinking of ripping him off when I suddenly remembered that Z knew him, so I decided against it to keep up appearances. I smiled. It's all good. While we waited for our food, I pulled out my phone to text Z. Babe. That capitalist pig finally had a change of heart and treated me to a meal. Even though I'm technically allowed this for overtime, I won't complain about him today. Just as I sent the texts, Zach's phone began to vibrate on the table. Naturally, he picked it up, his fingers gliding across the screen. I wasn't sure of what he saw, but oddly enough, he was smirking again. There was no mistaking what this was. I silently thanked his companion for putting him in a good mood. Z texted back, "How kind of you. What are you having?" My lips were pursed as I smiled, my fingers flying across the screen as I replied, "Esperian food. This place is so ridiculously expensive that it's practically daylight robbery. Anyone paying to eat here is a real sucker." I then sent him a picture of our table as we waited for food. Z replied, "Eat more, don't be shy, order whatever you want, you don't have to help him save money." Haley? Zach suddenly spoke, startling me. I quickly locked the screen, put down my phone, and sat up straight. "Yes, Mr. Barlow?" I replied. Zach looked at me, his voice steady. "You don't have to be so anxious, we're not at work." Inwardly, I scoffed. Each second spent with him was a battle fought against that capitalist pig. However, I still maintained a polite smile. Zach took a sip of water. "How long have you worked for the company?" "A year and a half, I responded. "And what do you think about the company?" he asked. I still maintained my smile. "It's pretty good, my coworkers are easy to get along with, the benefits are great, and the boss is pretty generous with salaries." Zach looked up at me and suddenly smiled. "Are you sitting for an interview, Ms. Atlas?" I said nothing. Without waiting for a response, he added, "Then, what do you think of me as a person?" "What do you think of me as a person?" The question hung over the table like a guillotine blade. I stared at Zach Barlow. He was leaning back, swirling his sparkling water, looking at me with eyes that seemed to strip away every layer of my corporate persona. My internal monologue was screaming, "You are a sadist, a slave driver, you have the emotional range of a teaspoon and you probably sleep hanging upside down in a cave." Externally, I wiped my mouth with a linen napkin and smiled so hard my cheeks hurt. "Mr. Barlow, you are highly efficient, a visionary leader, very detail-oriented." Zach nodded slowly. "Efficient, visionary, I see." Just then, my phone buzzed on the table. It was a reply from Z. "He sounds like a narcissist. Bet he's asking for compliments. Tell him he's got a nice tie. That usually shuts men like him up." I choked on my water. Zach raised an eyebrow. "Something wrong with the water, Ms. Atlas?" "No. No, just went down the wrong pipe." I glanced at Zach's tie. It was a midnight blue silk number. "I just realized, you have a very nice tie, Mr. Barlow." Zach's hand paused midair. A strange, fractured look crossed his face, halfway between a smirk and a grimace. He coughed into his fist to hide it. "Thank you, a friend recommended it." I quickly texted Z under the table. "OMG, it worked. You're a genius." He actually looked human for a second. Zach's phone lit up. He glanced at it, the corner of his lip twitching. "Eat your lobster, Ms. Atlas, it's getting cold." The rest of the dinner was torture. Every time I texted Z complaining about the atmosphere, Zach would check his phone and his mood would seemingly shift. It was like walking a tightrope. When the bill came, the waiter placed it near Zach. I peeked at the total and nearly fainted. It was more than my rent. "Ready to go back to the office?" Zach asked, standing up and buttoning his jacket. "Actually, Mr. Barlow," I said, feeling a surge of bravery fueled by expensive shellfish, "since I've finished the urgent proposal and it's technically the weekend, can I finish the rest from home?" Zach looked at me. For a second, the icy boss was back. Then, he softened. Fine, email it to me by Sunday morning. Thank you. I beamed. Don't thank me yet, he muttered as he walked past me. Go home and play your game. I froze. Excuse me? He didn't turn around. You mentioned you play games. Go relax, before you burn out and sue me. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. For a second, I thought he knew, but that was impossible. Z was my sweet, supportive, abs-having boyfriend. Zach was. Zach. Over the next 2 weeks, the atmosphere in the office shifted. Zach was still strict, but the venom was gone. He stopped criticizing my outfits. He even approved William's proposal, which sent William into a paranoia spiral thinking he was about to be fired. Meanwhile, Z and I were getting closer. We started voice calling every night. I miss you, Z said one night. His voice was low, raspy. It sent shivers down my spine. I miss you too, I whispered, curling up in my duvet. I wish you were here. My boss has been acting weird lately, like, bipolar weird. Oh. Z's voice peaked with interest. How so? He's nicer. It's creepy. Today he brought donuts for the team. Donuts, Z. I didn't think he knew what carbohydrates were. I think he's plotting something. Z laughed. It was a deep, chesty sound. Maybe he's just trying to be a better leader. Maybe he realizes he has good employees. Doubt it. He probably poisoned the sprinkles. I rolled over. Hey, can you say something for me? What? Say, MS, Atlas, this proposal is mediocre. There was a heavy silence on the line. Why would I say that, baby? Z asked, sounding strained. I just want to compare voices. You sound a little like him, but sexier. Come on, do it. No. Please? Haley, go to sleep. He sounded almost panicked. Fine, be a buzzkill. The next day at work, I was in the break room making coffee when Zach walked in. The space suddenly felt very small. Good morning, MS, Atlas, he said, pouring himself water. Morning, Mr. Barlow. He stood there, drinking his water, watching me stir my sugar. The silence stretched. Miss Atlas, he started, his voice dropping an octave. This coffee is mediocre. My spoon clattered against the ceramic mug. I whipped my head around. The tone, the cadence, it was identical to the voice in my head, the voice of Z, if Z was being mean. Zach was staring at me intensely. What did you say? I asked breathlessly. The coffee beans, he said smoothly, gesturing to the machine. HR changed suppliers. It's mediocre. Don't you agree? Right, yes, the beans. I laughed nervously. I thought, never mind. I ran back to my desk, my heart hammering. I was losing my mind. I was so obsessed with hating my boss and loving my boyfriend that I was merging them into one person. A week later, the announcement dropped. Miss Atlas, pack your bags, William said, leaning over my cubicle with a smirk. The big boss chose you for the tech summit in San Francisco. Me? I pointed to myself. Why not you? You love sucking up to him. He specifically asked for the mediocre proposal writer. William sneered, have fun carrying his luggage. I groaned, a 3-day trip with Zach Barlow, alone. The flight was first class, which softened the blow. I'd never flown first class. I took a picture of the champagne and sent it to Z. Look! The capitalist pig is flying me in luxury, probably so he can work me to death upon arrival. Zach was sitting in the pod next to me, reading a magazine. My phone buzzed. Z, enjoy the champagne, you deserve it. I smiled at the screen. I looked over at Zach. He wasn't looking at his phone, he was reading. See? I told myself, paranoia, he didn't even touch his phone. Who are you smiling at? Zach asked without looking up. My boyfriend, I said proudly. Zach turned the page. The online one? The one you haven't met? He's real to me, and we're meeting soon as his friend, your friend, actually, stops keeping him busy. Zach finally looked at me. My friend? Yeah, he says he knows you, that you guys aren't close, but you know each other. Zach's eyes narrowed slightly. What's his name? He goes by Z. He won't tell me his real name until we meet. He's shy. Zach let out a short, sharp laugh. Shy, right. Well, I hope he treats you better than your boss does. He treats me like a queen, I said defiantly. He sends me money when I'm sad. He listens to me. He has an 8-pack. Zach choked on his own saliva. He sends you pictures of his abs? Yes. Jealous? Zach stared at me for a long moment, his ears turning slightly pink, terrified. MS, Atlas, terrified. The hotel in San Francisco was obscene. It was the kind of place where the air smelled like money and lavender. There was a mix-up with the booking, the receptionist said, typing furiously. We only have the presidential suite available. We need 2 rooms, I said quickly. The suite has 2 bedrooms, Zach interjected. It's fine, we'll take it. But I'm tired. Haley, let's go. He used my first name, it sounded natural. The suite was bigger than my entire apartment building. I took the smaller bedroom, I showered, changed into my pajamas, and hopped into bed to call Z. Hey baby, I whispered, I'm at the hotel, you won't believe it, I'm sharing a suite with the boss. Is the door locked? Z asked immediately. Yes, he's in the other room, probably hanging upside down in his coffin. Haley, stop calling him a vampire. Why do you defend him? He's literally the reason we can't meet this weekend. Maybe he has reasons, Z said, maybe he's complicated. He's not complicated, he's a rich, lonely workaholic. Honestly, I feel bad for him sometimes. He has no one, just his money. There was a long silence on the other end. You feel bad for him? Yeah, like, who does he go home to? His Roomba? Suddenly, there was a knock on my bedroom door. Hang on, Z, I muted the phone. Who is it? It's Zach, open up. I panicked. Just a second. I threw on a robe and opened the door a crack. Zach was standing there in a gray t-shirt and sweatpants. His hair was messy. He looked devastatingly hot. I ordered room service, he said, holding a plate of truffle fries. They gave me too much. Do you want some? I stared at the fries, then at him. You brought me fries? Do you want them or not? I opened the door wider and took the plate. Thanks. He didn't leave. He leaned against the doorframe. Who were you talking to? My boyfriend. Still? Yes, we have a lot to talk about. Zach looked at the phone in my hand, then he looked me in the eyes. The air between us felt charged, thick with something I couldn't name. Does he make you happy? Zach asked quietly. Yes, he gets me. Good, Zach pushed off the doorframe. Eat your fries, we have an early meeting. He walked away. I closed the door and unmuted the phone. Z? You there? Yeah, Z said. His voice sounded closer than usual. Go eat your fries, Haley. Wait, how did you know I? He hung up. I stared at the phone. How did he know I had fries? I hadn't told him yet. A cold chill washed over me. The next day at the conference, I was a mess of nerves. I watched Zach like a hawk. Clue 1, Z knew about the fries. Clue 2, Zach's voice when he's relaxed sounds exactly like Z. Clue 3, Z is rich, Zach is rich. Clue 4, Z said he knows Zach. We were standing at a booth when a handsome guy from a rival tech firm approached me. Hi there, the guy smiled. I'm distinctively lacking a name tag, but I'm Greg, you are? Haley, I smiled back. Haley, beautiful name, are you free for dinner later? I know a great seafood place. Before I could answer, a hand clamped down on my shoulder. It was heavy and possessive. She's busy, Zach said, his voice ice cold. She has a report to file, all night. Greg backed off, hands raised. Whoa, okay, intense boss. When Greg walked away, I shrugged Zach's hand off. I don't have a report to file. Why did you do that? He was slimy. He was hot. And I'm single. Well, technically I have an online boyfriend, but... You are not going to dinner with Greg, Zach snapped. Focus on work. My phone buzzed, a notification from Z. Transfer, $5000. Message, buy yourself a nice dinner, stay away from Greg. I stopped walking. The conference hall was noisy, but the world seemed to go silent. I looked at the text, stay away from Greg. I looked up at Zach. He was walking ahead, his back stiff. He was putting his phone back into his pocket. It wasn't a suspicion anymore, it was a sledgehammer to the face. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. A strange, calm fury took over me. Zach Barlow is Z. My online boyfriend is my boss. He has been reading my messages bitching about him for a year. He has been sending me money as, what? Hush money? Pity money? I felt humiliated, I felt played. I hurried to catch up to him. Mr. Barlow. He turned around. Yes? I'm not feeling well, I'm going back to the hotel. His expression instantly changed to concern. Are you okay? Do you need a doctor? No, I said, gripping my phone so hard my knuckles turned white. I just need to lie down. I have a headache, a really big one. Back in the hotel room, I paced. I needed proof, irrefutable proof. I devised a plan. I waited until evening. I knew Zach was in his room working. I could hear his typing through the connecting door. I sat on my bed and opened the game app. I sent a message to Z. Babe, I'm so lonely. Can we voice call? Just for a minute? I heard the ding of a notification from the next room. Z replied, can't right now, honey, in a meeting. Liar, I could hear him walking around. I typed, please? I'm crying, I really need to hear your voice. A pause, then, through the wall, I heard a sigh. Z, okay, 2 minutes. My phone rang, I answered. Hey, Z said. Hey, I said, my voice shaking, where are you? I told you, at work, late shift. Really? I stood up and walked toward the connecting door. Is it busy? Yeah, very. That's funny, I said, placing my hand on the handle of the connecting door, because my boss is in the next room and he's not in a meeting. Haley. And I just heard a notification ping in his room at the exact same time you texted me. Haley, wait. I threw the door open. Zach Barlow was sitting on the edge of his bed, phone pressed to his ear, eyes wide with panic. We stared at each other. I held my phone up. Hello, Z. Zach slowly lowered his phone, the call disconnected on my screen. The silence was deafening. Haley, he started, standing up, let me explain. Explain? I laughed, a shrill, hysterical sound. Explain what? That you've been catfishing me for a year? That you let me rant about you to you? That you sent me money like I'm some kind of charity case? It wasn't like that. He took a step forward. Don't come near me. I backed away. You laughed at me, you mocked me, MS, Atlas, your proposal is mediocre. Was that fun for you? Playing both sides? I didn't know it was you at first. Zach pleaded, in the game, you were just Rex, we got along, by the time I realized it was you, we were already close, I was afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid that if you knew who I was, you'd hate me, you'd leave. He looked desperate, his usual composure shattered. Haley, I'm in love with you. The words hung in the air. You don't love me, I spat, tears stinging my eyes. You own me, you're my boss, you have power over me, this whole dynamic? It's sick, it's manipulation. I never used it against you. You lied every single day. Every time I looked you in the eye, you were laughing inside. I turned around and grabbed my suitcase. Where are you going? Home, I quit. Haley, you can't. Watch me. I didn't actually go home immediately because changing flights costs a fortune and I'm not Zach Barlow, but I booked a separate room in a cheaper hotel. The next morning, I emailed my resignation. Zach blew up my phone, calls, texts, WhatsApps, even in-game messages. Please let's talk. Don't quit. I'm sorry. Transfer, $50,000. I returned the money, all of it, every cent he had ever sent me. It emptied my savings account, but I didn't care, I wouldn't be bought. I flew back to the city alone. When I went to the office on Monday to clear my desk, the atmosphere was grim. William looked terrified. What happened? He whispered. The boss is on a rampage. He fired the coffee supplier. He yelled at a plant. I'm leaving, William. The position is yours. I packed my box. Just as I was heading to the elevator, the doors to the CEO's office slammed open. Zach strode out. He looked terrible, dark circles, unshaven, tie crooked. Haley. The whole office went silent. Miss Atlas, I corrected, not stopping. Haley, please, just 5 minutes. He blocked my path. He looked pathetic and handsome, but mostly pathetic. I have nothing to say to you, Mr. Barlow. My lawyer will be in touch regarding my severance. I don't care about the company, he shouted. Everyone gasped. Zach Barlow, saying he didn't care about the company? I care about you. I messed up. I was a coward. I hid behind the screen because I didn't think a guy like me could ever get a girl like you unless I was someone else. You were someone else, I said quietly. You were Z. Z was kind. Z was funny. You're just a jerk with a Ferrari. Then let me be Z, he begged. Let me show you I can be him in real life. Don't quit. Don't leave me alone here. It was a heartbreaking speech. It was straight out of a movie. Goodbye, Zach. I stepped into the elevator and hit the button. As the doors closed, I saw him standing there, defeated. I cried the entire subway ride home. Being unemployed sucks. Being unemployed and heartbroken sucks even more. I missed C. I missed the late night talks. I missed the gaming. I even missed Zach's stupid face. 2 weeks passed. I had blocked him on everything. One rainy Tuesday, there was a knock on my apartment door. I looked through the peephole. It wasn't Zach. It was a delivery guy. I opened the door. Yes? Delivery for MS Atlas. He handed me a box. Inside was a laptop, a high-end gaming laptop. There was a note. I know you're using an old potato PC. You need this for the new update. No strings attached. Please just play. I won't message you. I just want to see you online, Z. I wanted to throw it out the window, but my laptop was a potato, and the new update was dropping tomorrow. I set up the laptop. I logged into the game. I saw Z on my friends list. Status, away. I played a few rounds of Chaos Arena. Suddenly, a notification popped up. System, Z has requested to spectate your match. I hovered over the deny button, but my finger hesitated. I clicked allow. He watched me play for 3 hours. He didn't say a word, no chats, no whispers, just his presence, watching me slaughter goblins. It felt comforting. A month later, I finally landed an interview at a marketing firm. I put on my best suit and headed out. The interview went well. As I walked out of the building, I saw a familiar red Ferrari parked illegally on the curb. Zach was leaning against it. He looked better, clean-shaven, sharp suit, but his eyes were sad. I'm not stalking you, he said immediately. Okay, maybe a little. I knew you had an interview here. What do you want, Zach? I want to hire you. I just quit. Not as an employee, as a consultant. He pulled a folder from his car. I'm stepping down as CEO. My jaw dropped. What? I'm burnt out. You were right. I'm a creature who needs his own species, but I realized my species is gamers. I'm starting a game development studio. I want to build the world we played in. He handed me the folder. It was a proposal, Project Atlas. I need a creative director, he said, someone who knows what makes a game fun, someone who isn't afraid to call my ideas mediocre. I flipped through the pages, the concept art. It was beautiful. It was based on our adventures in the game. You're crazy, I said. I'm rich, he corrected, and I'm crazy about you. Look, Haley, we can keep it professional. You don't have to date me, just work with me? Be my partner? 50-50 split, 50/50? I raised an eyebrow. That's a lot of money. You like money, he smirked. There it was, the Z smirk. I looked at the proposal. I looked at him. If you ever lie to me again, I said, pointing a finger at his chest, I will delete your account, I will nuke your inventory, I will leave you with nothing but a level 1 starter sword. Zach smiled, a real, genuine smile that reached his eyes. Deal. Chapter 16, Level Up. 6 months later. Zach. The rendering on the dragon scales is mediocre. I yelled across the open plan office. Zach spun around in his chair, wearing a hoodie that said Player 1, it's not mediocre, it's stylistic. You have no taste, MS Atlas. I have excellent taste. I'm dating you, aren't I? The developers giggled. Zach rolled his chair over to my desk. He took my hand and kissed the knuckles. Touché. It wasn't perfect. We fought about game mechanics. He was still a bit of a control freak, and I was still loud, but we were happy. We launched Project Atlas a year later. It broke sales records. On launch night, we were celebrating in our penthouse, bought with our money, not just as transfers. We were cuddling on the couch, logging into the game. Hey, Zach whispered, resting his chin on my shoulder, I have a new skin for you. Oh yeah? Did you buy it? No, I made it. He clicked a button. My character, Rex, transformed. She was wearing a stunning armor set, shimmering with gold and diamonds, and on her finger, a massive ring. I turned to look at Zach. He was holding a small velvet box. Haley Atlas, he said, his voice trembling slightly, will you be my player too? Permanently? No restarts, no rage quits? I looked at the ring in the box. It matched the one on the screen perfectly. Is this ring real? I asked. Very. Is it expensive? Astronomically. I grinned and kissed him, then yes, you scumbag. I love you too, you gold digger.